The scene was dead anyway. A music scene lives, a music scene dies. The stories, however, are immortal. The scene was dead anyway is a look into the lives, communities and music scenes that helped shape an entire generation. Hello and welcome to The Scene Was Dead Anyway. I'm your host, Rick Walland. This is episode number 16. This is part 2 of the episode with Tom House, and we're talking about Charlottefield. In this second part, we're going to cover the rest of Charlottefield's discography, starting from the 7-inch ice cream vinyl and the second studio album, What Are Friends For? And then the third album, which was released after they disbanded, and that was Make It Easy on Yourself. And basically everything in between. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Before we start, if you're watching on YouTube, please could you like and subscribe to my channel to help the podcast grow. If you're listening on Apple iTunes, please could you leave a review under the ratings and review section. You can also find me on Facebook. That's facebook.com/The Scene Was Dead Anyway. You can also find me on Instagram. Instagram.com/The Scene Was Dead Anyway. I'm also on Twitter. Twitter.com/TSWDA. How are you feeling? I'm
all right, yeah.
It's coming up to 3 hours we've been talking.
You're gonna have some editing to do, right?
I'm loving it, man. Though honestly, I'm very grateful that you're spending so much time with me.
I'm really enjoying kind of talking about it and thinking about it quite a bit in the last few days in preparation, just to make sure that I actually had some, try and clarify my memory about it a little bit and make sure that I can just sit here and go, I can't remember. But it's really nice. It's really nice talking about it. It's really nice having the opportunity to talk about it and sort of relive some of these experiences, because it was really good. It was a good time.
You've done a couple of interviews. One was with Greg. Is it Greg? I don't know how to say his surname's Neat. Greg Neat. Which is the photo he took of you, kind of a portrait of you on a train.
I didn't know he was going to use that picture for it, but it's a nice picture, isn't it?
It's nice. Very nice. You look great, Tom.
we were on our. Well, it's just not like I spent a lot of time on trains and looking at
looking pensive on trains.
On a train on the way to a gig or whatever. He and I were actually that was totally separate from the interview. He and I were on the way to our friend's wedding reception at the time.
Okay.
That he took that picture, and we were just sitting opposite each other in the train carriage, just having a chat. So,
okay.
It was like, and he kind of he snapped that off. It wasn't staged, and but I didn't know he was going to use it for the art. I was like, oh, that's really nice. That's a lovely picture, Greg. Thanks a lot. And I didn't know he was going to use it for the art.
Did you ever do any kind of formal band interviews or anything like that?
Yeah, I think we spoke to a few. We did an interview for Penny Black and a couple of things. I did the odd phone interview. I can't remember much. I like talking about it. I do. I always did like talking about it, but it's particularly nice talking about it now because it's such a long time ago. So.
Yeah, I suppose it changes, doesn't it? Like as the years go by, your connection to your music, it kind of matures and changes, and That's how I feel anyway when I listen to my music from what I've created from a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what way?
I guess there's points where I've listened to so Samuel Sharp is my main kind of project that I did with my brothers, and I guess there were times
we played together, right?
Yeah.
We played. Yeah.
I don't know. This is a question I wanted to ask you. I think you played with my Ben and Tom's previous band to Samuel Sharp in Brighton.
Yeah, the Beat Poet.
The Beat Poet.
Yeah, I for some reason I remember first because I think I met Ben before I met you.
Yeah, you did.
I think so, and
Yeah.
I think we might have played together in High Wycombe. I don't know if I'm making that up, but
Beat Poet played a lot of gigs. Yeah, they did. They did a lot of show. I think they toured a bit as, and they played Freebut in Brighton, which was a.
Yeah, well, we would almost certainly have been there then. if that was any time between like 2002 and 2000, whenever the Freebut closed, like we were there a lot of it.
I'm not sure how long Beat Poet were together, but it was around that period. So, I don't think Samuel Sharp played on the same bill as.
Okay.
Because that was we formed in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess took about 2-year period where we could have shared the same bill before you split up.
Right.
Yeah. So let's go forward a little bit. So the next release would be, if I'm right, is the 7-inch release, Stand Up.
Yeah, the ice cream record. Yeah, Barney's artwork again.
That's cool. That's probably, I think that's my favourite, like artwork. I mean, out of all of them.
Yeah, it's really cool, and just like the colour choice on the texture of the sleeve and everything just really works.
Yeah. So this, do you want to tell us a bit about this one?
Well, the B-side is one of the best things we ever did, I think. The Can't Stand Up on the B-side, which was a song I'd done I demoed it and given it to the group with a handful of other songs and said, what do you think of these? Shall we do any of these? And it was one that I hadn't really particularly earmarked or anything. It wasn't like one that I was particularly keen to do, but because it was part of the latest bunch of stuff, I just gave it to the group anyway on cassette tapes, or played it off a mini disc or whatever. And it was Adam who picked it out. Adam said we should do that one, and we wanted to do the A side. We wanted to do that as a single. We knew that was going to be the next single, and so we had to pick a song to go on the 7-inch with it. And Adam said, "Let's do that one." So we learnt it up. We'd only, I think, like the recording of it is maybe the second or third time we'd ever played it all the way through.
So I'll play a little bit from.
It's one of the best. I think it's one of the best things we did, and that's like, and it was Adam's. It was Adam's choice, and he chose. He also, we wouldn't have done the 11th Day on the first album if it wasn't for Adam as well. He chose that one, and that's some. That's my wife's favourite Charlottefield song.
Oh, so the first one, Stand Up, or do you mean just the whole 7-inch, the whole?
No, the B-sides, Can't Stand Up.
Oh, the B-side. That's her favourite song.
No, sorry, the 11th Day is Noemi's favourite song, but it was Adam who chose the song on the B-side of the 7-inch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll play a little bit from Stand Up, so the A side.
Okay, the A side, yeah.
The bass sounds different. That's something that I noticed. Sounds a meteor. I don't know. Or am I just?
Yeah. We recorded that one ourselves. Like we did the 7-inch in the. Excuse me. We recorded both songs for the 7-inch in this really nice, expensive studio in London.
Oh right.
But then the mix wasn't right on the A side. This kind of happened to us quite a lot, and I don't want to rip on anybody, but there was the amount of times that we would be in the studio and we'd be trying to mix something, and there would be something like audibly wrong with the track, and you would be saying to the engineer, "Please, can you not do? Please, can you sort that out or do something about that?"
Yeah.
And and they'd say, "Well, yeah, but you can't, or whatever," and you'd be like, "Okay, you can't fight every battle. We're on the fucking clock here. Let's just."
Yeah.
And then you'd get the mix home and be like, "No, I was right," or "We were right." In this case, it was. I'd certainly noticed while we were mixing stand up in the studio that it was like the whole mix was going through a compressor, and it was fucking up the dynamics of the song. Like it was getting to that middle part, and the bass guitar was being sucked out of the mix, like because everything was compressing, and it was so you would just the bass guitar was just being turned down by the whole mix going through this compressor.
Oh, okay.
And sort of saying to the engineer, "Can we sort that out?" And he's like, "No, it's like it's supposed to be like that." And then getting it home and being like, "We've got to remix this," at expense to. In fact, Fat Cat were paying for that studio, so Fat Cat were annoyed with us because we were asking for more money to go back and remix the A side of this single, and kind of I was annoyed at myself for not just like putting my foot. And then we couldn't get in there in time to get the song remixed for the pressing of the 7-inch anyway, because we were like, this was like one time only that for some reason we were actually on a bit of a schedule, and the label wanted to get the record out. It's like,
okay.
It's the only time that happened. So we like borrowed our mate's 8-track and re-recorded the A side in the practice room.
So that's John Wood. Is that?
It was John Wood's 8
Tascam TSR8.
Yes, because it was a lovely machine. We'd just done. Ash was playing in Akakak at the time as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever heard Akakak?
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Right.
It's a great name, great band name.
I got goosebumps saying their name then. And we recorded them in the same practice room. We'd just done it like a few weeks before. We'd done a session in the same practice room with that 8-track, and got like we were like everybody involved. I wasn't in Akakak. I kind of engineered this session with them.
Yeah.
They asked me. They were like, "Can you run the tape machine and help us out so we can we can worry about playing the songs, and you just make sure everything's working." So we'd done that, and we were like, "Wow, this is like this sound is the sound of this machine is really good." And with these kind of there's limited selection of mics, and in this room, we can get something that's quite satisfactory. So we went and we did that song in the same way that we'd done the Akakak record, more or less.
Yeah.
And in the same place on John Wood's Tascam TSR8, which he sold not to me eventually.
So am I right in thinking John is in Lower Slaughter?
Yeah. It's the same John Wood. Yeah.
Same John Wood. Wood. So they came. Obviously, I had the episode with Barney, and his name popped up in that one. Let's play a little bit from the B side. Can't Stand Up. I love it, man. That's just one of my favourites, I think.
Yeah,
I've got a copy of that. Yeah, that vinyl in just next to me.
Yeah, it's nice. They're nice. I'm particularly pleased with that object. It just looks really cool, and I think it's
feels good as well.
I think it's one of the best things we did.
Like tactic. I don't know. I remember it. It's kind of got like a rough, almost. What's the word? What's the word when the letters are kind of popping out the? I can't remember what the.
Yeah, you can almost see that the ink kind of sitting.
That's
on
it.
top
That's
of the
it.
paper.
It's like somebody actually painted it like themselves, almost.
Yeah, it looks great. Feels great. I've got to say about. I said earlier on that Adam picked that song, which I think was a good. I think he's got great ears, and also I was thinking when we were listening to the A side, which I'd kind of forgotten about really, but that's one of the songs where Adam's playing the guitar part that he wrote. No, I didn't, and I can remember sitting in my dad's utility room, me and him with a couple of little practice amps, for a couple of evenings working on that tune, kind of writing the guitar parts together.
That's nice.
Which is a nice, it's just a nice memory, because we were sitting in this room with, clean washing hanging up, playing scuzzy music. And
it's things like that.
And hearing it just then, I could, I don't know, his guitar was really jumping out of the speaker, and it's great on that. His guitar part is really cool on that song.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to play the tracks to you, is because I feel like it might evoke some memories, or like I could just play the tracks in post editing and you won't actually listen to it, but I think now you're listening to it. It might bring something out, and you'll be like, "Oh, I remember that."
Is, yeah. It certainly is bringing stuff out.
I'm going to do this more often. Then I think with Tim from Part Chimp, I might play a few tracks to see what See if
that would be interesting. That would be, I'd like to hear what
he might be like, "I hate listening to my own music. Turn it off." Like, it could go down really badly. I don't know. Nah, it shouldn't be.
He's all right, Tim. He's lovely.
Do you know Tim? Yeah.
Yeah. I spent quite a lot of time with Tim. We recorded the second Sweet Williams album, and
great.
So we became friends over that sort of. I mean, we knew each other, but we'd seen each other at gigs and stuff. Obviously,
same circle.
Crossed a few times, but yeah, we became. I'd say we became pretty good friends around that time. And a few subsequent pleasant evenings in fine company.
There's a question about was there any gigs that you played where it was like sold out and it was like, whoa, we're like, we're kind of like big, Charlottefield are, we're kind of famous, do you know what I mean?
No, not really. There were some really satisfying experiences. We played at British Seapower put on this all day. I can't remember what year it was. They put on this all day in the fort, New Haven Fort, and they invited us to play. We were on sort of early afternoon in this, I think the whole place was something like 3,000 capacity, right? But we played in the early afternoon, so there was far fewer people than that, were actually there, and fewer still who were actually like at the stage. There was some. We had some loyal friends with us, and a few of the people who would come and see us in Brighton were there and were kind of knew that we were playing. And
yeah,
so maybe a few other folks who'd never heard of us who were curious or whatever. we played to, it was a reasonable, or nothing wrong with it at all, but it wasn't 3,000, it wasn't 3,000 people.
Yeah.
But we played on this huge stage, and we didn't, because of the nature of the thing, we didn't have a sound check. The sound engineer came over to us as we were setting up. One of the few times when we had like professional roadies on hand. So, when we were like, we were going to put the amps here and stuff, they were like, right, and they'd go and they just did it. It was great.
Wow. Great. That's a luxury, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I can't lie. That was quite big. And then the sound engineer came over. We didn't know who the sound engineer was going to be, but it turned out it was this guy, Joel, who worked at the studio where we'd done the first album. So he'd heard the record because because of his relationship with the guy that had engineered it, James. And he was aware of the band. We'd seen him knocking around, we'd crossed paths, so we were friendly with him. And he kind of he already knew the band, and he was like, I was really pleased when I saw that you were playing, because the engineers were working in shifts. I had to do 2 bands each. He said, I put my name down to do you guys. So, because I think, I reckon it'll be all right,
Yeah, I can get a good sound for you, yeah.
So we were like, okay, we're starting with this particular song that starts one instrument at a time, that he happened to know the song, and he was like, that's perfect. That's just absolutely perfect. And we started playing, and we were playing through this huge PA on quite a big stage. With like really, usually we liked playing on the floor, and we liked not having to have monitors and stuff like that. But all of this shit really worked, and it sounded good. It just sounded really great straight away. And we got to play like, we played the rock songs. We played the more kind of heavy rock songs, and one of our friends came up afterwards and said it sounded really good, and he said that it felt like, his name's Mark, he's a painter. He said, I felt like I was digging when you were playing. I felt like I was digging my own grave. Yeah, I really, and mind digging. He looked really pleased for somebody who was talking about digging his own grave. I really liked that. That was kind of, that's like,
there was a compliment in there.
Thing to like a big gig that we did,
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I suppose a lot of the gigs were kind of, very, very, very small venues. Not that many people, I suppose, maybe 50 to 100 at most, would you say?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah, most of the time.
Did you feel?
Well, less than 50, yeah. As well.
Did you ever like think about the? Did you ever think, I wish this was sold out, or was that just never came into your mind? Like, oh, it'd be great to play, some huge venue like to like a few thousand people or something. Was there any of those kind of ambitions, or it wasn't just?
Well, it's all the idea of playing to more people, and the idea of playing to more people has always been appealing. I would like to do. I would like to do that. I have, on occasion, played to slightly bigger crowds than I might be used to, and that's a lot of fun. I enjoy that. But you sort of think you think about these things, and you think about what the actual conditions of them are, and playing DIY venues to DIY crowds of like 30 people is a great experience in itself, and like the sort of conditions that you the experiences that you have doing that. I wouldn't like to sacrifice those. It's a nice idea to play to more people. It's a cool idea to be able to do that. But if it meant sacrificing the type of experience and the type of experiences that you have, and the type of people that you meet playing DIY gigs, you know,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I wouldn't I wouldn't change it for, you know, I'm not swapping that for anything, you know.
So I just thought about All Tomorrow's parties. You didn't, obviously, I don't think you didn't play ATP.
No,
But
no, we didn't.
Was that
I
something
don't think we were on their radar, to be honest with you.
No.
You know, I don't think so.
I don't really know
Well,
how
we
it
should
kind of
have played it,
works, how they pick the bands and that. But I know that it's like curating, like someone would curate, wouldn't they? So
yeah, a lot of the time, yeah. But it would have been, you know, it would have been really nice to have been asked to do that. I would have liked to have been asked to play at ATP. But in hindsight now, I'm sort of glad that we didn't, because, you know, I'm glad that we were never really, you know, on their radar or anything, because it sounds like it was a bit of a shitty experience, to be honest.
Yeah. So what I've read about how it came to an end was pretty nasty, wasn't it?
I went to 3 ATPs and I never really enjoyed it. I didn't really like it. I much prefer, you know, the Tavern in Wigan, for example. 3 bands at the Tavern in Wigan.
Yeah, you know, I know. Which ones did you go to? Do you remember?
I went to the Tortoise one in like 2000 or 2001. And the first band that I saw at that were the X. I walked in and the X were playing Dizzy Spells songs, and I was completely blown away. The second band I watched was US Maple, who I didn't get at all at the time, but really got into in a big way later, and was lucky enough to see them again and kind of get to enjoy what I just completely failed to pick up on the first time that I'd seen them. Yeah. And then the rest of the weekend just really went downhill from there. It was, you know, there was some good bands played, but there's the whole atmosphere of it felt so sterile and controlled and stuff. I didn't, you know. Yeah, I like I said, I like, you know, Tunbridge Wells Forum or the Free Butt in Brighton, you know, a 3-band bill at that, and then you know.
Yeah, I would say
come back next week for the next thing, you know.
I would say I had a similar experience. But the first one was First and More, 2006, and the guy loves white noise, and like most of the lineup was just white noise acts, and I got to a point where I was like, I just want to hear a chorus like 4/4 or something. You know what I mean? It's killing me, man. And then Godspeed in 2010. But that was good because Godspeed, love Godspeed, and I got to see the X as well, and you know, a few other bands like Deerhoof and that. You know, they were always knocking about. So, but I feel the same. It wasn't a pity. I didn't really overall. I didn't really enjoy the ATP experience. You know,
we got to watch Deerhoof from the side of the stage at a festival in Belgium once. Actually, it was a festival that was held in like a kids' primary school, but out of term. I think it was the Easter holidays or something.
Oh, cool!
And we played immediately before Deerhoof, and we got to watch them from the side of the stage, and they were. I think the Runners 4 had just come out, and they still had that lineup. One of the guys left the group after that record, but they still had him in the band.
Yeah,
one of the best gigs I've ever seen was that. You know, I like Deerhoof, but I don't have any of their records. But I like them. But watching them play that gig from the side of the stage was really great. That's another great. The whole, like, all 4 of us were there, and we'd been on tour for a couple of days in mainland Europe, and we hadn't been able to get any weed. But one of the guys from Piano Magic had given us, like, he had somebody given us a tiny bit of weed that, you know, he didn't have much. He gave us all he could spare, and we rolled this joint. We were like, we're gonna have a fucking joint after we played. Smoke this joint and watch Deerhoof from the side of the stage. All 4 of us, and
Oh,
Yeah,
they're great
fun.
live. Yeah. What I think she's called Satomi, the
Yeah,
singer.
yeah.
Like she just does the whole kind of choreographed hands thing, and then is it Greg? I think it's the drummer. He's just a
Mhm.
mental drummer, awesome. You know,
Yeah.
and
They're,
even
they're,
the
they're a great
guitarist. I
band.
love his guitar playing as well. It's really great.
Yeah, they're an interesting. I mean, they got like this. They're just the music's really interesting. You know, they're, what they're doing is really cool. And when you see them live, that's it's great. It's just so entertaining and
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, and they all.
a weird like quick story like with we saw him at ATP, and my
Mhm,
brother Tom, my middle brother.
mhm. I
And
met him as well, right?
yeah, he's kind of tall like me.
Yeah.
Ben's smaller than me and Tom. But for some reason, the drummer picked Tom out the crowd because I think he was just like towering over everyone,
Yeah.
and just started having a conversation with him like in the middle of the crowd, and it was like they were just mates. It was just there's no they had no connection at all. But it's just like one of those memories that you have, and one of the only few positive memories from ATP.
It's pretty friendly music, isn't it, dear? If
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of nice to hear that that they're, that
Oh,
they're
they're nice.
friendly.
I think they're all super nice guys, and seeing Kim Gordon bowling as well. That for some reason that
Kim Gordon bowling.
bowling. I was like, she's just a normal human being like everybody else. You know, she's this rock star, but really she just likes to do a bit of bowling. So that was another, because it was at Butlins. So Butlins had the whole self-contained like entertainment park, whatever. So
See, if I'd seen Kim Gordon bowling at ATP, I might look on the whole experience a little bit more fondly. I think. Yeah.
that shows how bad it was. That's the kind of the
No,
only
man,
memory
that's
that-
Kim Gordon bowling. That's a great story. Just the mental kind of image of Kim Gordon at the bowling alley. It's
Yeah,
like,
I mean I've never really listened to Sonic Youth properly, and at the time I didn't really know the music that much, but I noticed there was like a little crowd gathering around her, like so I was like, oh, she's the bassist from Sonic Youth, and she's bowling, and that was it.
yeah,
And I walked away.
she's sort of, I don't know. She's more than the bassist in Sonic. She's Kim, she's Kim Gordon, man.
Yeah, she's got her own presence as
This is like she's super cool. She's the coolest one in Sonic Youth, definitely. by a really long way, I think. Like all the Kim Gordon songs in Sonic Youth are way better, way better than the other guys. I like them, I like Sonic Youth, but yeah, I mean, she just the stuff that she's on is another thing.
I certainly don't like First and More's music taste, as I had to suffer a weekend of it. So your second studio album, What Are Friends For?
Yeah.
Released in 2008, beginning of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with the first track. We'll just play a little bit of that. So this, where was this recorded? This album?
Purple Studios in a little village called Trouse, just outside of Norwich, in a converted church hall.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
With a right character called Richard Hamilton. Very funny man. Very lovely and funny man. And Eves, who
Lawrence Eves, yeah.
Lawrence Eves, who I've actually been trying to get hold of him lately. He was a lovely bloke as well. Be nice to hear from him.
So the thing that stood out for me was when I first heard this was the roominess of the drums. So that would be the, like you say. So it was like a basically a church. What was the set?
The church hall, you know, where you have like the village fete and stuff like that. You know, it was where the jumble sale. But they bought the building and converted it into a recording studio with a little room with a few bunks in it. That was we really liked the idea of going out of town and just spending a week somewhere else doing a record in one go, and managed to persuade Fat Cat to pay for it.
That's great. So like I was saying, the roominess of the recording, was that did you like that? I mean, that's obviously different from How Long Are You Staying, because that sounds quite a tight sounding recording.
Well, without wanting to go sort of too into it too technically, when we did How Long Are You Staying, all the amps were in the same room as the drums. So there are like room mics in the recording, but you couldn't turn them up too loud because the guitars would start to sort of be a bit too not present enough, you know.
Yeah.
But when we did this record, the amps were all like in isolation cupboards. So the drums had their own room, you know, the drums had the whole room to themselves.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was quite a big part of the what was the church hall, was kind of the drum room. So we were all playing in the same room together, but with the amps off in these isolation booths, the room mics for the drums just had drums in them. So when we came to mix it, we could really take advantage of that, you know.
So how did you feel about that record and the recording and
it was hard again because we had some of those problems that we eventually managed to fix. But I think like when we finally did finish it, I think we were all quite pleased with it. We all felt like it was like, you know, what we had set out to. It's what we managed to do what we were trying to do, more or less. And yeah.
So let's play a bit of, I think Snakes is one that pops out to me. Play a little bit of that, Snakes. Sounds like a fun song to play.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to play that song. It's quite tricky because there's the whole bit before the vocals come in. Both the drums and the bass are playing in one time signature, and both the guitars are playing in a different time signature again from each other, as well as the drums and bass. So it was quite could be quite challenging, but it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. I think the riffs and that's the kind of chromatic discordant side of the, I guess we're talking music theory, like that's what always stands out for me. Charlottefield stuff as well. It really kind of comes through in that track. Like,
oh, that's cool. That's cool. I think like I can remember writing it in my mum's flat in Bexhill and being like, took me a while to sort of search for the right kind of discordance,
Yeah, and just Ash's drumming again, just all the fills, man. I just get off on all the fills and that personally. You're just nailing everything. So let's the other track is the last two actually, Freeze and Backwards. We'll play a bit of Freeze. I'd just be happy just to sit here and listen to it all, however awkward it seems.
Hearing that, I've got to have to point out that it's the whole song's based around this one chord that my friend John Richards showed me. It's like a particular type of A chord, which there's a few. A, B is another one that's based around the same sort of position on the guitar, and he showed me that chord. It has this kind of. I just always really liked the sound of it, and couldn't help but use it after he showed it to me. He's one of my favourite guitar players. Played in Unhome and then the reformed Joeyfat when they reformed in about 2000, and still plays. He's played in a lot of bands since then. He was in Hey Colossus for a while. He's still making music now, and he's always been a really inspiring musician.
Yeah.
As well, to hearing what he does and watching him play has always been inspiring, but also like knowing him and having the benefit of when I first met him, I was still a teenager. He was a bit older than me as well, and was a really really good sort of friend and mentor in a lot of ways, and so that song's kind of got his DNA in it very, very firmly. It always makes me think of him when I hear that one.
And like you said, you didn't use any effects. Is it the same with this album as well?
Yeah, fuzz pedals. Like there's a couple of bits. There's a bit in that song, I think, and in Snakes. There's a couple of bits where the guitar, the fuzz pedals go on the guitars just to get that kind of extra push to the dynamics. But apart from that, it's just like that's Adam playing at the start of that song. His sound is just an overdriven amp, I think. Or he might have had an overdrive pedal or something to get it, just to get a bit more grain out of it.
I think that became your sound, wasn't it? The kind of clean guitars, open sounding riffs, and that was my impression.
It seemed like it does seem like other guitar players use a lot of other guitar players that I've played with or that I've seen playing use a lot more effects and stuff, But I don't know why. I don't know. It didn't really occur to us, I suppose. We didn't. Yeah, like Adam used delay on one or two songs early on as well, but
yeah,
I think it was more just a case of that's just more stuff to go wrong. Like, so let's not open that, open that can.
Absolutely. I think there's a bit of a status thing as well with having millions of pedals and being like, I've got more pedals than you. There's like a bit of a novelty aspect to it as well.
I really wouldn't. I don't think either me or Adam, or Chris, or any of the guitar players would really know anything about that.
So we'll play a little bit off the last track backwards. I can't think of a good place to stop that song. It's just the bit where your vocals come in, man. Oh, just the hairs on the back of my neck. It's just so fucking raw, and like that. That's the energy that I was talking about. That really always came through when I used to see you live, and it was like, God damn, I wish I could be that powerful. I don't know.
Yeah, well, a young man shouting. that's it. Yeah, I think that's a young fella's game. That kind of thing. That song is like that's one of the songs where there was much more kind of. I brought something in that was kind of pretty half baked, you know, and everybody sort of got involved on that one and everyone put stuff into that song. That's what really makes it good. That's like a real group effort. The whole composition of that one.
A proper full collaboration, like.
Yeah, I was one. You know, we. I think, you know. Yeah, and I think it's like one of the best things that we did.
I keep saying, "Oh, this song is in my top 3." Then I hear another song and forget that there's another song. You know, I think I remember you playing that one live. That and just the moment where Ash starts on the hi-hats with that kind of 16th note rhythm, and it's just like everybody just walks up. So my brother walks up, we all walk up towards the stage, and we know Charlottefield are about to start, you know, because of that opening little bit there, and everybody's just like, right, here we go.
You're taking me back. I remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah, like a wave.
I remember feeling like that. You know, it's
like a wave of people just approaching the kind of where you were set up, and then it was like we were all ready.
That was always really, really nice. I remember like setting up to play at one gig at Ponce in the Park and in Derby, and thinking, you know, there weren't that many people there. It was outdoors, round about sunset, really nice park, and sort of being turned around fiddling with my amp, trying to get everything plugged in, and turn around expecting to see, you know, a couple of folks, and there was quite, you know, for us quite a, you know, I don't know, like 50 folks or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And thinking, wow, there's actually people. They're all like, they're waiting for us to start, and that was a nice
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice feeling. Really cool. But that was like a bit, you know, literally turning around from the amp and being really surprised by a group of faces, you know, and just thinking, all right, it does make you, you know, it starts things off really well. You're like, right, okay, let's get stuck in, and it's a good feeling.
I think I read that one of you would face away from the stage.
We used to always face, when we started, like at the beginning, partly because of nerves and stuff, we used to always face away from the audience, sort of almost deliberately. And then, obviously, apart from Ash, but then sort of later on, it became more about like, you know, that we were sort of facing each other, so we sort of turned sideways on a little bit more, and I sort of put the mic a bit more to the front, because I felt like if I was going to sing, then I should at least sort of. People had sort of said, "Oh, it's really rude that you've all got your backs to the audience," and I didn't really necessarily agree with that, but I thought it was fair enough, you know, to at least sort of
make a compromise.
Try and make an effort, you know, to sort of, and then, you know, so that became the thing then, but. It was like we didn't really need eye contact to play the songs. Everybody knew where they were in the songs. You know, it wasn't like we had to cue each other in really at all. But facing in towards each other and being able to have eye contact with each other really did something for the playing. You know, it did something for the kind of connection, the connection between everybody when they were playing. So, you know, that was important to us.
Yeah.
I think that's how we liked to play. That's you know, that's what we did.
So this was this was released just before your final tour, European tour.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know at the time. You didn't know that would be your last tour.
Yeah, I didn't. I think other people in the band might have known.
Oh, you see? Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about the tour. Where did you play? Which countries? And
it was great. The tour was really great.
Yeah.
It was loads of fun. The longest tour we did. So I was really happy. I really liked playing every night. For the most part, I was really happy. It's hard being on tour can be hard. And there was, well, anyway, for the most part, I really enjoyed that whole tour. I think we played as well as we'd ever, we were playing really well, as well as we'd ever played.
Yeah.
And we were out for 3 weeks. One whole week of it was in Spain, with Picore, who we'd first met the year before when they invited us out to do a couple of gigs with them. So we came back, we got to spend a whole week with those guys. That was really exciting. They were playing a lot of new stuff already from the previous time. They had a whole new set of stuff that was really cool. And I think that's my sort of abiding memory of it, is the Spanish part. It was really that was really great.
Where else? So what other countries did you play? From Spain,
France. We always had a pretty good time in France as well. It's difficult to separate the memories of playing on that tour from other times that we might have been there, because we did go a few times, I think. The Netherlands, played in Utrecht. I think we played in Utrecht twice in total, and that was always really fun. There was a cool promoter there called Gerben, who we really liked. We really liked that guy. Played in Italy. We only ever played in Italy on that tour. Did a couple of gigs there. That was a real.
Do you remember
cool
which cities? Or
yeah, we played in Verbania and we played in Rome. And I remember it being really funny in Verbania because we got there late. We'd had to drive down. We drove down through Switzerland.
okay.
So I think maybe we were coming from Strasbourg or something like that. Long drive, and we got there late. And when we arrived, the people who worked at the venue and stuff were really keen to get us to sound check. They were helping us move all of our stuff in, and so we were under the impression that we were in a real hurry and that we'd really that we'd kind of let them down a bit because we were late and stuff.
Yeah.
So we got the sound check done super quick time, and then they were like, right, it's time to eat. And then we spent an hour in a really, really nice restaurant over the road, eating like a 3-course meal that was just like super delicious. And
Italian food, man. Yeah.
Totally relaxed. It was like, okay, so people were like, oh, okay. Well, that's cool. And then we went and played, and we probably played one of the slowest gigs I think we ever played, because everyone was just like really full because we'd had this amazing
food comas, during the gig.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time in north of Italy, and the food is some of the best food I've ever eaten. It's just incredible.
It was. Well, that's the only time I've been there, and it was,
So you came back from the tour, and so the band finished.
The tour was actually a really quite a funny story, because we finished the Spanish part. We were here in Zaragoza, and we were supposed to play like 3 more gigs in France on the way up on the way back up through France to get home. So we had 3 more gigs going. We left Zaragoza. the morning after our last gig with Picore, we'd had a really nice week with them. We'd celebrated. We'd sort of seen it all off the previous night in the appropriate fashion, and we were on our way. We thought we were on our way to France, and about an hour outside of Zaragoza, the van broke down.
Oh, classic!
And it wasn't possible to get repairs because it was Easter. It was the start of Easter weekend. It was like Easter Thursday, and everything was closing. Everything closes in Spain for Easter because it's bigger than Christmas.
Right. Right.
And so everything closed, and we couldn't get the van repaired. The only thing that John Wood was driving us, and he had to get the insurance involved and everything, and the van had to be towed, and we had to be flown home. So we were waiting in this service station in Zaragoza for Danny from Picore to come and pick us up and take us back to the place where we just said a kind of, a fairly, quite an emotional goodbye to these guys that we toured with for the last week, and then, then sort of turned up back there without we were sort of, that's it, and we had to get flown home, and then John had to fly back out when the van got repaired and drive that home, and it still had all of our shit in it. We still, luckily, like as the van was being towed, it was like for some of us, it was a lot. It was like shit, right? Fucking passports in there, and we wouldn't have been able to get hold of it. So we just about managed to get out of the van what we needed to get home, but all of our guitars and amps and the drums and stuff were all in the van. So. And that took two more weeks to arrive back in England, and then there was a couple more weeks after that, and we did one more gig in Brighton, and supporting Old Time Religion at the Albert, and then Ash quit the next morning.
So I was going to ask you when was the last Charlottefield show, and that was it, was it?
I think it was at like April or May 2008. I would say about April 2008, because that tour was in March, and I remember that gig being, just like a few weeks later.
So you said it was the Albert in Brighton. That was the final show. But I suppose that wasn't the plan.
Well, I mean, I was already like. We'd recorded some stuff. We had a record with the third record. We hadn't quite finished that,
Oh right, that was in the pipeline.
Yeah, that was still in the pipeline, and I'd written a bunch more songs that that I'd already started kind of showing to the other guys in the band. Sort of, do you fancy trying some of these out and stuff? So for me, it wasn't planned at all. I thought that I thought that we were carrying on and stuff. But I think it had been on Ash's mind for a little while that he needed to, he had to. I mean, like I said, everybody's commitment to the band was pretty strong. Nobody could take a regular job. Nobody could go to university. It's like, I think everybody sort of made that choice while we were doing the band. That was the thing that everybody would just drop everything to play a gig to 30 people for less, sometimes for less money than it costs to get there. And it's a pretty big commitment to make. So I think he was like he wanted to think about other things. He wanted to look at other aspects of life, and so yeah.
And so that was the end of the Charlottefield story.
Well, not quite, but yeah. That was sort of, that was it. That was it.
But you did actually release, as you say, this the third album after you split up. Make It Easy on Yourself.
Yeah.
So the cover for this is a bit different, I suppose, to the other two.
Yeah, it's not Barney. Barney didn't do the cover for that one, which is a shame, I think. But for one reason or another, I'm not sure exactly why, but he wasn't up for doing the cover at the time.
So that was actually released a couple of years after you finished, so 2010.
Yeah, was it then? Maybe. It might. I thought it was 2009, but you might be right. It just took a long time. Like we finished it off shortly after we kind of broke up. We got together and mixed it and stuff, and it was sort of ready to go for quite a while. But it just, like all things, it just took a long time to really come together.
Let's play a one track 110. Because I remember you playing this. I remember you playing this live at Club Academy in Manchester, and it just it stands out in the memory. Where was this one recorded then?
We went back to the Granary, the same place that we did, like, fittingly enough, given that it ended up being the last record. We went to the Granary in Lamberhurst with an engineer called Guy Denning, same place, and the same engineer from the first sessions that we did that were on that first Fat Cat single. So that was really nice because it's a cool place to be, and it's really fun recording with Guy. And we more or less did that live in the studio. So we did it we just went in for a couple of days during quite a busy, we were playing a lot, like in the lead up to that last tour on mainland Europe. We played quite a lot in England as well. We kind of had a weekend. We just went in, and they were all songs. They were sort of songs that we've been playing for a while, but hadn't fit on either of the first two records. So it's a sort of weird mixture of stuff. But I think I think it's kind of nice. I like the first song on that record a lot, which is another one that's it's like the only song I ever wrote in the time of the band that you could just play on guitar and sing. The song would exist with just one guitar and singing. So I didn't have like parts for anybody else. So everybody kind of did. That's like if we had carried on playing, I would have really liked to have explored a bit more of that kind of thing, because I think it was really interesting, and we were just sort of getting started in that respect.
Play a little
really
bit of the first track, Freehand.
No such number.
I feel like a lot the Sweet Williams stuff is kind of feel a bit like that's a kind of precursor to, would you say, to some of the
I mean,
Sweet
certainly
Williams stuff.
Me and Adam carried on playing together a bit after Adam's out. Like Adam's playing on that's absolutely beautiful. By the way, it was really nice listening to that. I mean, sorry. We carried on playing after that, and very much sort of the first stuff that we did was kind of, when wasn't quite Sweet Williams yet, but Adam was in the kind of early incarnation of it, and it carried over into that, and I think it sort of seeped into the particularly the first couple of Sweet Williams records. That sort of atmosphere. That feeling.
We're getting to the end now. It'll be so we've been on about 4 hours now. It's great.
Wow.
So the kind of last couple of questions. One of them that I'm really interested to know about is this. You did this reunion gig. So 4 years on from when you split up. So 2012. Edge World. That's the name of this record store in Brighton.
Yeah.
And it was closing. So. I believe Barney. But Barney said you approached. What was the story? You told me there was maybe some.
I don't know who approached who really, but I've got a feeling. I think it was Ash's idea to do it. It was Colin Wakefield, who ran Edgeworld, who we were talking about earlier on. Ran Edgeworld Records. He had eventually he got a shop in Brighton, I think in about like 1997 or something. He opened a shop, having been selling records out of the back of his car for years, and that lasted until 2012, for about 15 years, I think.
Wow.
This shop was like, Ash and I both worked for Colin. Ash for some time. So he was closing his shop, and excuse me, too much of this stuff. He was closing his shop, and Barney, Colin's son, wanted to see it off in the appropriate fashion, because this shop wasn't just a record shop. It was like the hub for a lot of activity, a lot of the kind of DIY bands. Colin was also still promotes gigs in Brighton, of all the kind of bands that we've mentioned along the way have played for Colin.
It's called
and it was you could leave your flyers there, you could put your gig posters up there. It was a real hub. So the fact that it was closing, it deserved a proper send off. So Barney arranged this surprise party for Colin in the West Hill Village Hall.
Oh, nice.
And I think it was Ash's idea. Barney thinks it was my idea. Ash probably thinks it was Barney's idea.
So when Ash comes on, I'll ask Ash who we'll get there in the end. We'll find out who instigated this reunion.
Yeah. But certainly as soon as it was suggested, everybody was keen to do it. Everybody said, yeah, let's do it. It's good. It's a good thing to do, It seemed like the proper way to.
So you hadn't played together for a few years. So I guess, did you have a couple of rehearsals before, just to blow off the cobwebs? And
we did, yeah.
Just
which were very fun.
Sorry, what did you say?
Which were really fun. It was really nice. It was really nice to be back in a room together.
It's like the old gang back together.
Indeed.
You were kind of like, maybe we could just carry on, guys. Let's make this. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, I don't know, really. I definitely would have entertained the idea if anybody else had said let's do it. But I was already started doing Sweet Williams.
Yeah.
I would have definitely entertained the idea of doing a few more gigs, but it didn't really seem like. Yeah. It didn't really seem like we needed to, It didn't, and it was, we wanted to play for Colin because, and for that kind of, and for all the people who were there at that particular party, for that, because it was a community, we wanted to. It felt like, it just felt like the right way to, it felt like the right thing to do in that situation. I don't think we would have done it really for any other reason. I don't think we would have played again at that point for any other reason.
Do you remember the night and like when you played and how you felt? And
yeah, I remember being really hammered because what happened was it was the evening after the very last day of the shop. So, and I was the one who was tasked with getting Colin from the shop to the West Hill Hall, which is there's no reason why he would go there, So I had to basically, after the shop closed for the last time, I went to the pub with Colin. Colin was under the impression that everybody was meeting him in the pub. So I took him to the pub. He thought everybody was going to be there at the pub. He was a bit disappointed. I was like, oh, they'll be along in a sec, Colin, don't worry, Meanwhile, I'm getting text messages on my phone. Can you hold him for another 45 minutes? So, so I got pissed with Colin, you know, while we were waiting.
Oh, lovely.
Because I was nervous, so I was fucking guzzling the booze, but trying to keep a sort of a straight face on, you know, trying to not let on to Colin. And eventually they, and also trying to figure out, how am I even going to get in there? How am I going to, it's like, what are we going to do? You know, nobody had come up with any ideas. So eventually I just said to him, right, come on, we got to go. You know, they said, right, you can bring him now. And I was like, right, we got to go. And he was like, where are we going? And I said, I'm not telling you, but, you know, you're just coming with me. And we got to the West Hill Hall and it was all blacked out. You know, I got him in a taxi. We got up to the West Hill Hall. It was all blacked out up there. I was like, I'm sorry, Colin, we've got to stop in here. You know, we've got to stop in here on the way to where we're going.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he had like some kind of he says he didn't really have much of an inkling of what was going on at all until like the very last minute, which I find quite hard to believe, to be honest with you. But so we got there and I opened the door to the hall, and instead of going in myself, just kind of grabbed him and shoved him in, closed the door, and just heard the whole room kick off, you know. I can't remember if they sang "He's a Jolly Good Fellow" or if everyone just kind of cheered at him or whatever. But there was like a few hundred people there.
Wow.
And so it must have. So I didn't get to actually see that that particular moment because I was on the other side of the door, just going, "Oh, thank God for that."
I've got him there, yeah.
Yeah, I've got him here. And then so I went. I left a respectable amount of time and walked in. Ash was on the deck, so when the cheering died down, he put "If You Leave Me Now" by Chicago on the decks, which got a big laugh. Yeah. And then I walked in and saw Colin just sort of standing there with this sea of people all kind of looking at him and stuff. He's pretty stoic, Colin. I thought he might have had a bit of a cry, but he didn't. He was completely
maybe inside he had a cry, you know.
He looked happy, you know. He looked really chuffed and pleased and surprised, but he kind of
So the Charlottefield gig was before all this, I'm assuming, because you weren't hammered when you played the set.
No, it was like then there was like so we got there. Then Ash DJ'd for a bit, and then Shudder Pulse played. Barney Wakefield's band played.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember. I think we played before I'm Being Good. So I don't think we played last. I think we played in the middle.
Yeah.
And Colin said when he saw us like setting up the amps on stage, he thought that we were just setting up for like the next band, that we were all just helping out. And it wasn't until we actually like put our instruments on that it was like, oh, it's Charlottefield are going to play.
Oh wow,
you know?
but that was a good feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite nice. Yeah, it certainly was. Yeah, it was good. That was a good gig.
Awesome. So I actually have a question from a Q&A. So I put out some things like, oh, do you want to ask Thomas House a question? You know. So one of them was from a guy on Twitter, but we've already covered it. He's called Alex Microcorps Tucker. I don't know if he's on Twitter anyway. He wanted to know about what your experiences of growing up and being involved in the Kent alternative scene, which I think we've covered, haven't we? So
yeah, but yeah, I know who Alex is.
Oh, you know him, yeah.
Yeah, I know Alex. Well, he was he was in Unhome with John Richards, the guitar player I talked about earlier.
Okay, yeah.
So that group was like really inspirational to me, as I kind of covered earlier on. Not just John, the whole group, like everything about that band, and to a lot of people, a lot of the other folks who were going to gigs at the Forum around that time.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, being a part of that bunch of people. I said before about going to see. Did I? I think it was yesterday. I talked about going to see Joeyfat. Or was that today? I can't remember now. But being welcomed into that community of like musicians, DIY musicians who were playing in these great bands, but were also like they had time for us, like for the young like kids who were coming to the gigs and stuff. Was a great experience. You know that I learned so much from it, just from watching the bands and from hanging out with them and talking to them about music. Really shaped my ideas about music and about life. All of those guys. Yeah, Alex, John, Jay Dorman from Joeyfat, who writes all the music in Joeyfat and stuff.
Yeah, I do apologise. We didn't really talk a lot about, because you played for a number of years in Joeyfat. That was at the same time really as Charlottefield. So we talked a bit about, there was a gig at the Brudenell Social Club in Leeds. It was a Chinchilla Fest, and that was so you played Charlottefield and Joeyfat back to back on the same bill.
Yeah,
and then
I don't think it was back to back that time. I think we had a bit of a gap.
Oh, a bit of a gap.
A couple of
That was
gap,
it.
But I definitely did do back to back gigs at least once.
All the bands that I can think right now were played that gig. So you had like Bilge, Lords. Yeah, that's when I saw Lords as well. Yeah, that was a amazing. I remember going and just being like, this is a treat. This is, like all these everybody from almost like the whole like UK DIY scene, all playing on the same bill. Jesus, that was.
There were a lot of good bands around for a while, weren't there? I mean, there are always great bands around. So you just by saying, and when we were doing it, there was so much more. You just sound like an old fart when you do that. There are always really great bands around, and you've just got tap into it. You've got to go and find out where they are. To look for them. But around that time, I think. There were a lot of really great. There were a lot of really, really great bands playing in the UK in the early. Well, in the early part. Well, the 2010s, which was when I was, when I was doing the most, doing it more than I've ever done it since. So I had the benefit of being exposed to them. I feel like I must be pretty lucky in that respect. Like, in terms of what other bands were going on around that time, because there were some absolutely cracking groups. It
was all happening. That's how I think about it. The time was right. So another. This is from my brother actually, Ben.
Is that from Ben?
Ben's got is one of them's a statement, like a comment. He said, he once told me he loves compression, and I was of the opinion that compression ruined things. Tell him I get it now.
Well, I get it now. Tell him I get it now.
He'll watch it.
Yeah, no, I did. I really did like compression for a bit. I'm a bit more circumspect about it now, but it can be good. It's like anything else; it can be good if you use it right.
Yeah.
We might have overused it on a couple of mixes or whatever, and I told you earlier on about the hideous misuse of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That ruined a song at one point. So yeah.
And
tell him I get it now.
He'll watch this, so
okay.
And the question he had was, if he could join any band past or present, who would that be?
Charlottefield.
Just like a doppelganger of yourself in Charlottefield.
I just wouldn't change. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change the bands I've played in. I've been really, really, really lucky in that regard.
I would have loved to play in Charlottefield.
Okay, let's take it in the spirit it was intended. If I could join any band, like
any band
that I think that I would be like, oh, I love being in this band. Maybe the Four Carnation or the Breeders, either one of those. I think I'd be pretty good in the Breeders if Kim Deal ever like breaks her arm and can't play, the rhythm guitar when she's, and she needs somebody, and I could do that. I reckon I could do it. Not quite Kim Deal, but but yeah, I'd love to be in the Breeders. That'd be a great band to be in.
There we go. That's your answer, Ben. Hope you're satisfied. Last question, Tom. 3 records that changed your life.
Okay. Well, I've seen you've been asking people about this, and I'm prepared.
Yes.
I'd like to list 3 records that have changed my life in more recent times, because it's quite easy to just go for the obvious sort of, never mind or whatever. But so a few years ago, I was DJing with Sweet Williams guitar player John Griffin in Brighton, and he played a track by a band called New Kingdom, who are a kind of psychedelic-ish hip-hop group from the mid-90s from New York. So I couldn't get the album on vinyl. I bought the CD of it instead, and we listened to that a lot in the car. There's a lot of video footage somewhere of John driving Sweet Williams to gigs with New Kingdom playing in the van. It's a great record. I missed it at the time in the mid-90s, but discovered it, because of John a few years later, called Paradise Don't Come Cheap by New Kingdom. Really, really just such a cool record, such a great atmosphere all the way through it. Every track's a winner. Really kind of, it's pretty far out, and it sounds like a bit aggro at times, but it's kind of, you get the impression that they're on this kind of, whatever trip they're on, they want to bring you along with them, and it's that's a great record. That genuinely kind of reopened my ears to a lot of things. Second one was Angel Olsen, Halfway Home by Angel Olsen. A few years ago, I was cleaning and grading a record collection for a friend who wanted to sell it, and one of the records was Halfway Home by Angel Olsen, which I put it on to check the condition, listened to it in full, and then kept the record for myself, because I was completely blown away by it. I think the writing on that record is beautiful. The songs are beautiful. The words are excellent. Her voice is amazing. Her performance on that record. The production's lovely, but it's really about the songs and her voice. Just really, a couple of times in my life, there's been albums that have really, I don't want to try and emulate Angel Olsen as a singer, but when you hear her singing those songs, for me, it makes me want to be a better singer. It makes me. I love it. That's an amazing record, and it makes me want to be a better singer. The last one would be Tumbling Towards a Wall by Allah, which I think came out at the end of 2019. I discovered it at the beginning of last year. Naomi and I had quite a difficult year in 2019, and we finally arrived back here in Zaragoza, and we're just sort of starting to get settled down, and I needed something to kind of reset my brain, from the year before, and that album really did that for me. It was like I got hold of it, I got it off Bandcamp and played it on my headphones all the time, and it's totally beautiful. And I remember that time just before the pandemic hit, the first couple of months of 2020, kind of resetting my brain with this beautiful record. It was a good. That was, I was very happy for, kind of in this weird sort of slight state of bliss in spite of the year that we'd had, and that record was kind of the soundtrack to it. It was
so that's 3 records that I need to check out. Because I've not heard of them, so thank you.
Up with the links.
Well, that's pretty much it, Tom. I'm so grateful that you spent so much time with me, and
thanks, man. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you. And so if you're okay, we maybe in a couple of months or so we can do another one.
Do it all again.
Yeah. We can talk about Sweet Williams and like, because obviously there's a huge amount of time there that we haven't covered.
Yeah, more than the same amount of time again. So,
yeah. So,
but a lot less has happened. Like it's been a slower thing. So
Yeah. So we'll talk about all about Sweet Williams and 2010 to present day.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. I just want to say a huge thanks to my guest, Tom House. He spent about 4.5 hours with me on Zoom, going through the entire Charlottefield discography, answering all my questions. And I just, I can't thank him enough. I feel so grateful that he gave me that opportunity. And I hope you've enjoyed the 2-part series. And Tom will be on another show by Joe Thompson, Wrong Speed Records. I believe he's due to release an episode with Tom. And that series is basically speaking to people about their favourite records and stuff. And that's just started up by Joe Thompson of Wrong Speed Records. So I will link him, and Tom will be on his show soon. So if you want to carry on listening to Tom, it's the place to go. Next episode to be released is with Neil Jarvis of Sprinters, and that'll come out next Monday, the 5th of April. Sprinters are very much your shoegaze kind of stuff, so if you're into like Beach House and Deer Hunter, you'll like this episode. Neil's also from Wigan, they've released a few albums, and we talked about a few songs from each album, played through them, and it was a great episode. So that'll be out next Monday, 5th of April. If you're watching on YouTube, please could you like and subscribe to my channel to help the podcast grow. If you're listening on Apple iTunes, please could you leave a review under the ratings and review section. You can also find me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/The Scene Was Dead Anyway. You can also find me on Instagram. Instagram.com/The Scene Is Dead Anyway. I'm also on Twitter. Twitter.com/TSWDA. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. I'm your host, Rick Walland, and you were listening to The Scene Was Dead Anyway.